Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of My Lemonade Life. How many of us have a bag of beans in our pantry, or maybe a big container, or maybe 20 pounds or whatever, and they sit there and they sit there because we think at dinner time, oh, I think I want some refried beans, but we don't have time to soak them and cook them and wait for them to be done so that we can have refried beans. And so a lot of times we just open that can of pre-prepared refried beans that don't really taste that great, but they are there and they're handy. So today I'm going to show you how to make instant refried beans. If you have a good grinder like a Ninja or a wheat grinder or some kind of a mill, sometimes if you have a really good blender, it'll work. My blender is not a really good blender, and now it's really not a good blender because I tried to do this in it. So I have a wheat grinder, but it's one of those big mill and stone ones. It was my grandma's, and so you can understand how old it is and how heavy it is and how clunky it is. So my friend let me borrow hers because it's just like a little thing that you just pour this stuff in and it grinds it up. And I haven't even tried it, so hopefully it works. But she did tell me, she said, cover it up when you do it because otherwise the dust kind of flies. And so we're going to do that. So what I'm going to do, these beans have been pre-rinsed and dried. And when I say dry, I mean you can put them in the oven at 225 for about an hour, or I put mine outside because I live in the desert and it was hot, and so I just put them on a pan outside and they dried really quick. So I'm going to take 2 cups of, these are pinto beans, and we are going to grind them up, and we're going to make our own refried bean mix so that all we have to do is add water when we want some refried beans. Okay, so let's see how this is going to work. I know it's going to be loud, and so we're probably going to, if it's too loud, then of course we'll cut the sound and put some music in to listen to instead of the grinding, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so I'm going to put this little towel over it. I'm going to pour the beans in and turn the mill on, and I'm going to want it to be really fine, or fairly fine, not big chunky beans, but let's see what we get. Okay, I see what she means about the dust. So I think what I'm going to do is put a plastic bag over it and try and see if we can hold the dust in that way. Otherwise I'll just dust afterwards, I guess. So let me grab a plastic, let me find a bag that I can put over the top and hopefully hold more of the dust in. Okay, here's a great big home goods bag. This should do the trick. So I'm going to go ahead and just pour the rest of those beans in. And we'll process them real quick, and then we'll go from there. But let's see if this, I bet this bag's gonna work a lot better. Our beans are ground now, and I have to say, I have never met a grinder yet that doesn't make a mess. I wish somebody would invent one, but they do make a mess, and they do get flour all over the place. So I'm gonna just take this top off. So I pulled the top off the grinder, and now this is our 2 cups of beans that have been ground into bean flour. Now, one of the things that you can do with this bean flour, you can use it as a thickener in soups or stews or things like that. Anything that you normally use flour. It does not have gluten, so you don't have to worry about that. But what we're going to do, our next step, and I'll put some things in the post about what we can do with just the bean powder. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some seasonings, and I'm going to make a refried bean mix so that we can keep it in our pantry. We can just put it back in the jar, have it in the pantry, and then when we need it, we just add water. So I'm adding some garlic, salt, and regular pepper. And since this is such a nice bin, I'm just going to dump it right in here. Then I've got some cumin, some chili powder, and some onion powder. And I'm going to dump that in. I'm going to stir it up. And you guys, sometimes when I'm canning beans, I just add taco seasoning because I like the flavor of taco seasoning. So if you want to put a couple of tablespoons of taco seasoning in it instead of the other ingredients, you're welcome to do that. So this is just going to give us kind of a basic mix for refried beans. Okay, light and fluffy, and all you have to do is add water and they're ready in 5 minutes. So you can make burritos, you can make a side dish for your Mexican food, you can do all kinds of fun things with it. Got my jar here, so I'm going to put this, I'm hoping it's going to fit in a quart jar. Actually, I'm going to swap these beans because this wide mouth is so much easier to use. So let's put these beans in that one, and then we'll use the wide mouth for the powder. Okay, so I've got all my seasonings in there. Easy peasy, you guys. It just had some cumin, some garlic salt, some onion powder, and chili powder, and black pepper. So that is the extent of the seasoning. And of course, you can doctor it to however you and your family like it. Like I said, taco seasoning works great. So I'm going to put these in here. See how much we get. We should get probably about 4 cups, maybe a little less. And once in a while, you might find a little bean that didn't quite make its way all through the grinder, but that is not going to hurt your beans at all. Okay, so here we have our instant refried bean mix, and I will whip these up in a minute and we will see what they come out like. Okay, you guys, if you're enjoying this video, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe down below and hit the notifications so you can see other videos when we do them, and stay tuned because we are going to come back with part 2, cooking the beans. Okay, so we are getting ready to make our refried beans from the bean powder mix that we just made. So I've got 2.5 cups of water, and I'm just going to put this in, and it's going to boil. And you can change this depending on how big of a serving you want. So we're just going to let this boil for a second. Okay, we've got our water boiling now, and so I'm going to take 3/4 cup of the bean powder, and I'm just going to whisk it in to the water. And I'm going to put a lid on this, and we're just going to let it simmer for a few minutes and see where they end up. Okay, so I just took a little taste of these, and they are really bland for my liking. So I am going to add some taco seasoning. I'm going to probably add close to a tablespoon and let it go ahead and settle in with the rest of the flavors. I should invite the grandkids over. They'll tell me the truth. All in all, I am super pleased in how this turned out. It's just a quick, easy way to use those beans in your pantry. You don't have to soak them. You don't have to worry about soaking them overnight and cooking them in the crock pot all day. Once you make this mix and this powder, then you have it in your pantry, and you can just whip up a quick bean dip, a layer dip, a side dish of refried beans. You can use that as a thickening agent. Okay, you guys, I wanted just to add a couple of little afterthoughts. So I have had time to savor the flavor, and as they cooled off, as the beans cooled off and the flavors kind of started to go together, it was pretty tasty. So I added a little bit of cheddar cheese to the top and diced an avocado in it, and then ate it with chips for dinner. And it actually kind of had me going back for more. So the one thing that I would do different for sure is I think I would use the taco seasoning. I just like the flavor. It gave it a more full, robust flavor. And so rather than put, the little bits of cumin and garlic, salt, and onion powder and that kind of stuff in, I would probably start with the taco seasoning and then add flavors that, that work with your palate. But I enjoyed it after I added the taco seasoning. And it did go together really well. And it was tasty, and it made a nice little meal for me. And I had my little Mexican Coke with it, and now I am a happy camper. So if you have enjoyed this video, go ahead and like and subscribe, and hopefully you'll join us again another time. See you next time. Bye-bye.